Hi everyone! Welcome to episode 40 of the Queen City Yarn Dyeing to Knit podcast. I'm Kristen, and this is a podcast about knitting and yarn dyeing and weaving and spinning and crochet and pretty much just my adventures in making things. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been 3 weeks since I did a podcast episode, but I did last week release 2 tutorials. One is for the double brioche stitch, which is used in JANIS, the other half of Queen City Yarn, is used in her full fashion cowl. So I did a tutorial for that. And then I also did a tutorial for a double knit hem, which is used in a new design, which I will share with you in just a few minutes. I have quite a few finished objects to talk about today. I will have to put pictures in for some of them because I don't have them anymore, but I have a couple to show. I have a few works in progress, just a couple that I brought today, and yeah, just some chatty things. So thank you so much for joining me. You can find me online on Instagram as Kristen C. Also, you can find Queen City Yarn on Instagram as Queen City Yarn. You can find me on Ravelry as Kristen. And you can find all of the Queen City Yarn over at queencityyarn.com. My patterns are available on Ravelry and also over at queencityyarn.com. There is also an Etsy shop, which is the Queen City Yarn outlet, and that is over on Etsy. And yeah, I think that's it. All the administrative stuff to share with you today. So let's talk about finished objects. I will talk about the ones that I don't have with me first so that I can sit here and knit while we chat. One thing I showed last week was the Nebelung pullover that I was working on in that alpaca linen yarn. I was really excited about it. However, it was way too big for me. It was intended to be an oversized garment. However, I did not swatch. I just cast on, and I did not meet gauge. I also chose the wrong size to knit, and so it wasn't even like cute oversized. It was like sleeping bag size oversized. It just didn't work for me. So I finished the body, finished the neckline, which was a really beautiful V-neck neckline. I decided that I was not going to knit the sleeves because it wasn't working for me, and I sent it to a friend as a surprise, and she likes it. It's still very big on her, and I think she's still deciding on whether or not she's going to knit the sleeves onto it or just wear it as like it's almost like a poncho because it's big, or like a big oversized vest, kind of like Snuggie thing. So the V-neck did turn out really beautiful though. So I was bummed that it didn't work out because I really liked the yarn and I was really excited about the finished garment, but you know, it was not a yarn that I felt would, not that it wouldn't be impossible to rip out and restart, just that it would not be enjoyable to rip out and restart, and I didn't want to do that. So saying it to a friend was the best idea. So I did that, and it's done. Another thing that I finished that I think I showed it last time, was a broken rib cowl that I was knitting for my mom. I have a picture that I'll pop in here of her wearing it while holding my niece Lily. It worked out really well. I knit it until I, was almost out of yarn, did a 1x1 rib and a tubular bind off, and it worked out really great. It's a nice size. My mom really likes it, and I was very excited to gift that to her when I went home for a quick visit a few weeks ago. The other thing I finished, okay, so I have 2 that I can show you, so I'll show you those. I finished a couple of hats for Valentine's Day, and I could have showed this one last time, but he had it in his office. I knit my husband a new beanie. I used the Hat for Dan pattern, but he likes his very fitted, so his is very shallow. And I used Clinton Hill cashmere Bespoke, I think is what the base is. It's the worsted one, and just made him a black worsted cashmere hat. He really likes it. He can tell the difference between the softness, and you can't see because it's just black. It's just a black hat. But he really loves the softness of it. I had this skein in my stash that I was going to use with the leftover from the gray sweater that I had made the year before last. I was going to knit them into a colorwork hat for me, but after I finished that cashmere sweater that he bought me the kit for Christmas, I just felt like he needed something cashmere, and so I knit him this hat. This was his Valentine's gift, and he really likes it. He's been wearing it quite a bit. And then the other hat that I finished was one that I had not cast on yet, but I told you I was going to cast it on that night, and I did. This is the Split Decision hat by Shana of SHANALINES Designs. It's inside out. My son has been wearing this. He claimed it right away. He really loves the yarn that I used. He's all about grays and blacks right now, so this was perfect for him. This was a really fun knit. It's knit modularly, and it was fun. It was quick. I used Queen City Yarn Biddleville DK. So I started on this side and I used Home Team Gray, and then the stripes are in I Don't Do the Sunday Crossword, and these were all leftovers from hats that I had knit during the holidays. And then I did this whole side as Sharpies versus the Fridge. And then I picked up around the bottom and did just a little bit of a rolled brim with I Don't Do the Sunday Crossword. So yeah, it was super fun to knit. It was interesting to knit and very quick. I think it was a great use of the Biddleville DK leftovers, and I have quite a few more, so I could see myself making more of these. I think my daughter Caitlin would like one in different colors, so I may let her choose some yarn to do that. So that is done as well. And two more things finished. One, I'm wearing. This is my newest design, my first garment design. It's called the Fresh Favorite Tee, and I am so excited. It's currently in testing. I've had so many awesome test knitters reach out to get started on it, and I couldn't be more excited about this first garment design. It is knit flat using Queen City Yarn's newest yarn base, Coleman, which is a 65% silk, 35% linen blend. It is like drapey and beautiful. I'm gonna grab this swatch so I can just show you. It's just got such beautiful drape to it, and I knit it at kind of a loose gauge. So this t-shirt design is based on a store-bought t-shirt that I had bought years ago at a little boutique, and I loved it. It was my absolute favorite, like comfortable throw on kind of boxy tee. I wore it literally every time it was clean. That was what I grabbed during the warmer months. And during our move last summer, I got glue on the front of it, and it was already pretty threadbare. Like, I had worn the heck out of it, and it had been washed, you know, probably hundreds of times, and it had a couple little holes in it, but I was still rocking it. Like, I was still wearing it around the house and everything. And then I got glue all over the front of it. While unpacking, there was a thing of Gorilla Glue that wasn't closed all the way, so it got all over the front of the t-shirt. So anyway, I have looked, had contacted the boutique, like even after I bought it the first time, like after a few months, I just loved it so much. Tried to get another one. It was not anywhere to be found, and so I decided that eventually I would knit one. And originally I considered using wool. I considered using fingering weight yarn and knitting it, and I think that would be still really beautiful. But when we came out with this Coleman base, I just knew it was perfect. Like, it's It's got this beautiful drape. It hangs so nicely. It feels cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. It's cool to wear, like comfortable, cool, breathable, and I just couldn't be more happy with it. So the design of this tee, it starts with these saddle shoulders, and then stitches are picked up across the back, cast on for the neck, short rows to make it fit really nicely, and then the front also incorporates short rows and this scoop neck, which matches the tee that is sadly worn out. And it also has a high-low hem and some short row shaping in the back. I'm going to pop a picture in because even if I stand up you won't be able to see the bottom of it, but I'm so excited. This is my first garment design, and I am really, really proud of it. I've done a lot of work to make it size inclusive. It is intended to be worn with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease, and so the pattern that I have written goes from a 30-inch bust, which fits my daughter Caitlin, and I'll pop a picture of her in one here too. I knit hers first using the Studio Series, which is this beautiful green color. This was a yarn that we used for the Studio Series last summer while we were kind of trying to find that perfect summer base, and it ended up being this Coleman. And so hers is this beautiful green color. I would show it to you, but she really likes it and she wore it to school today. So I'm going to put a couple of pictures in of her wearing it. It is slightly cropped, and like I said, it has a split hem where the front and back are shaped with short rows and the back is a little bit longer. And I've worn it quite a few times and I really, really love it. So this is the Fresh Favorite tee, and I've knit 2 of them since we chatted. It's a really quick knit. It's knit flat. So you do the saddle shoulders and pick up across the back, do some short rows, and then just knit the back straight down until you do those short rows and double knit hem, which is what I did the tutorial for, and you can see that double knit hem here. And that was really fun to work. I couldn't find I knew how I wanted to do it, and double knitting made sense to me for how I wanted to do it. But I couldn't find a tutorial. Usually there are people who make tutorials that make really great tutorials, and usually I link to those in my pattern because they're done so well. But I couldn't find a tutorial for this. One of the tutorials that I posted last week over here on YouTube and over on the Queen City Yarn blog is for this double knit hem. And the weight of the hem, I mean, the drape is beautiful, but having that extra weight, that double knit, just really makes it hang really, really nicely. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about it, except for that I'm really, really excited. Can you tell? I'm very excited about it. So it's currently in testing. I've got a really great group of test knitters working on it now. There are a couple of sizes that I don't yet have testers for, and I've posted over on Instagram about needing some testers. So if you're interested in some of the larger sizes, I don't have test knitters for yet. Queen City Yarn is offering a discount for test knitters if they would like to use the Coleman base. And yeah, there's a couple other yarns that I've suggested in the Google form that might work well for this design, and so there are other options as well, but this base is amazing. If you haven't gotten your hands on it yet, look forward to it because it's really great. It debuted last weekend at the Carolina Fiber Fest, I think is what it was called, in Raleigh, North Carolina, and everybody loved it. It's on the website now. It's a lot of yarn stores are placing orders to stock it. So if you'd love to see it in person, and talk to your local yarn shop and let them know that there's this great new base that they can that we can send samples of, and then they can stock for all of your warm weather knits. So those are my finished things. And let's talk about whips now. I only brought a couple. I usually have a lot more socks on the needles. Well, I have a lot of socks on the needles, but usually I'm working on more socks than I am right now. But I've really only been working on one pair. These are the socks that I am knitting for my brother for his birthday, which is not until October, but I'm trying really hard to get started on gift knits earlier than like the day they're due this year. I still would like to work on some holiday gifts, but I haven't started really holiday gift knitting yet. But this pair of socks is really just, I'm enjoying it so much. Last week I showed you that I have one finished tube. I have not yet cut the heel in. I'll do that both at the same time, you know, one after the other. But this is where I am with the second sock. And this yarn is, let's see, comes in this super fun gobstopper ball, which I'm not sure if she's still doing. I haven't ordered from the yarn jar in a while because I have quite a few skeins of her yarn. Trying to find that sweet spot where it's going to focus. This is the yarn jar, and the colorway is Scholarly, but it is a really beautiful self-striping yarn, and it has these uneven stripes and this like super fun stripe sequence that I really am enjoying. I'm not sure where I was last time. I think I was like up in here somewhere. So I've knit a little bit on it, but working on this design took up a lot of my knitting time. And like I said, I knit one for my daughter and for myself, and then worked on the pattern and all that stuff. So there's not quite as much knitting, but I still have lots to show. I have two more things to show. So one, I have started a new sweater. So last year, for the month of April, Queen City Yarn dyed the yarn for the Wool and Honey Sleeping Bear Club, and it was called what's it called? Tulips something. Traverse Little Tulips maybe. And it was a skein of our Queens Road, which is an MCN merino cashmere nylon base. Traverse Little Tulips, I think, was the name. And so Janice and I each kept a sweater's quantity of the colorway because it's just so beautiful. It's a really beautiful spring, bright, fun color. So this is it in the skein. Then we decided that we needed to also have a quantity of our Madison Park mohair, which is a silk mohair blend and the same colorway. So I still have a skein of each that I haven't yet wound up. My ball winder, the drive band broke, so I had to wind. I have two skeins. I have a skein of each that is wound on the ball winder, and then I have a skein of each wound by hand, and these are going to need to be wound by hand as well. And I just haven't done it yet. So here it is, caked up. The top is the MCN, and the bottom is the mohair. And I really am excited with this sweater. I've wanted to knit this sweater for quite a while. It's the No Frills pullover by Petite Knits, and I have just separated. I'm about an inch past the sleeve separation, but I love how it's knitting up. So I am alternating skeins. After I finished the short rows at the neck, I started alternating skeins just to avoid any pooling, or you know, sometimes the skein could be a little bit darker, or you know, depending on how it takes the dye, but I really love how it's coming out. So I'm holding the yarns together to knit this. So I'm working with what's pretty much a DK weight yarn with the MCN and the mohair silk held together. But it's just so bright and fun and springy, and I'm enjoying it. And like I said, I just separated the sleeves about an inch ago, so I'm about that far under the sleeves. I have my sleeves stitches being held just on an extra cord for my CHOWGU interchangeable needles. I use like a 14-inch cord to hold those sleeve stitches. And yeah, I'm just working my way around on the body. It's just a while of stockinette before I think it calls for a decrease before the ribbing. So it's a while until I get to that point. And so that's the sweater that I have on the needles. And then I brought one more thing to share. I started a blanket. I started the, let's see, it is called the Cozy Comfort Throw. It's by a Homespun house. And I am using a skein of, well, a cone actually, of undyed Arnota sock. And then I wound, that's how big this ball is. This is obviously before my drive band broke. I decided that I wanted to use the Queen City Yarn Advent calendar, the 25 mini skeins in a blanket. And so I wound them up. It's a big fade, so I wound them up, and you know, end to end I just did like a little slip knot to tie the two together, and I'm holding them together when I'm knitting. That way I don't have any ends to weave in. Like when I come to a new mini skein, I'm just knitting the ends, like holding the new one and the old one together until it just is done. So this is how far I am. I am just I'm working on the third mini skein. So the first one comes to about here, and then the second one is from here to here, and then this is the third one. And I'm really enjoying it. It's just garter stitch. I'm using a US 9 needle, holding these two strands of fingering weight together. So I decided to use and hold an undyed with it just because I thought that would be fun. I also considered a gray, but I'm just doing an undyed with it. And yeah, I cast on a few more stitches than the pattern calls for because I wanted it to be a little bit wider. I have plenty of yarn, so I'm just gonna knit until it's gone. I think it's the plan. It may be 10 feet long. Just kidding, I don't know how long it's gonna be. I could measure and calculate that out, but I'm just enjoying the mindless knitting of it. It's very easy. It's just garter stitch, so just knit, knit, knit. I've wanted to do a blanket like this for a while and really considered doing one in crochet. I actually have a crochet blanket on the hook, I guess, not on the needles, that I haven't worked on in a long time. I started it kind of early on when we were first like on lockdown for COVID, but I'm not as proficient with crochet as I am with knitting, and I don't read my work very well. And one of the struggles that I've really had with crochet is being able to tell where the end of the row is, like finding that last stitch. So sometimes my blankets would like go, I would add stitches each time, not knowing where that end stitch was. So I love all of the crochet mini skein blankets, and I would love to do one like that sometime, but now is not the time. I just needed something easy and mindless, and this garter stitch blanket is it for me. And yeah, I'm just really loving it. So that's what I have on the needles. I have a couple other pairs of socks on the needles that I just have not worked on, and so I didn't bring. I want to knit all the things, especially once the drive band on my winder broke. That's when I wanted to go in my stash and like wind up all the yarn and cast on all the things. So I guess I'm being a little bit more conscious of like, do I really want to cast that on right now? Because I'm gonna have to wind the yarn by hand. So I ordered the tubing or cord or whatever to be able to make a new drive band, because I'm not able to get it from the company, and there's a tutorial on how to do it. So I'm thinking that my mom has the same kind of winder, and I'm thinking that the next time I go home I will get my dad to help me do that, because you have to like, you cut it, which is not a big deal, and you heat it and put the ends together, and then you have to like sand it smooth, and he's got the sander and all that stuff, and I'm sure he could like make a million of them in 5 minutes for me. So anyway, yeah, so that is what I'm working on. I'm dreaming up new designs. I'm still mentally working through the off the cuff cardigan before I actually get pen to paper on that, and then get it on the needles. And yeah, I'm gonna take a break for a sec and I'm gonna show you some Queen City yarn. Okay, I'm back and I brought my Queen City Yarn Studio Series over to show you. I have this one, let's see. This one is the January Club yarn. It's called Dragonfly in Amber. And this one is the February color, and it is called Devils in the Details. And I am getting the Queen City Yarn Studio Series on Biddleville DK. I have a lot of fingering weight stash, and I just could really use some DK in my stash. And I love Biddleville DK. It is a really nice yarn. I think it could be knit to a DK or a worsted gauge really easily. And it is 100% superwash merino, 115 grams, and you get 250 yards. So it's plenty of yarn to do quite a few things with. I haven't gotten my March yet, but I know it's only March 18th, but I'm so anxious to get it. I've seen a picture of it and it is really, really great. So yeah, I just wanted to show this. The Queen City Yarn Studio Series is open all the time now. If you order before the 15th, you can get the yarn for that month. If you order after the 15th, you get the next month. And one thing that we're doing differently this year than we have before is giving kind of a teaser for what you can expect. Not an actual picture of the colorway, but a teaser in terms of like a mood board. So the theme for this year is quilts, and so each quarter we're releasing a quarterly mood board, which can kind of give you an idea of what colors to expect in the colorways for that quarter. So if you haven't already signed up for the Queen City Yarn Studio Series, it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend you do. You can sign up for either fingering weight, which is Noda Sock, which is a 75-25 blend, superwash merino and nylon. It's perfect for socks. It's great for garments as well and shawls. It's got a lot of yardage. It's like 460 yards per skein, so you have plenty of yardage to work up into some beautiful, beautiful projects. And then the Biddleville DK is the other option, which is what I've chosen for my Studio Series shipments. Let's see, other Queen City news to chat about. Big news is Queen City Yarn is moving, still staying in Charlotte, but moving into a new location, a new office and a new dye studio, and that is coming along really nicely. I know Janice is working really hard to get that all set up, and Anne is working really hard to keep up with all of the dyeing of our new base Coleman and shipping out all your orders. So yeah, that's really, really exciting. And there's quite a few in-person shows coming up. There is one this weekend in Charlotte at a brewery. And then there are some more things on the calendar. So Craft Fest is March 26th and 27th. That's in Charlotte. Yarn Centric is happening May 6th, and that is a smaller indie show that is going to be taking place right around Frederick, Maryland, where it's actually happening in Mount Airy, Maryland, which is right next door to where Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival is happening. And so that show is going to be in person. There's also Blue Ridge Fiber Fest, which is in Sparta, North Carolina. That's the beginning of June, the 3rd and the 4th. And then Black Mountain Yarn Shop, we're doing a worldwide knit in public pop-up there, June 10th and 11th. And so yeah, lots of fun in-person events happening, and yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. I think that's all for now. I am going to spend some time working on this blanket and monitor emails from my test knitters, and yeah, I'll leave you with that, and until next time, happy knitting.